So now we move to the second phase, right? Which is building a personal balance sheet. This is something I think maybe only one or two people in your batch might be doing right now, and or maybe not a lot, basically, maybe none at all. But it's simple. You just have to spend 10 minutes of any night, any day, to open your Excel and make a really simple balance sheet. It looks like this. So on the first column, what you do is you just list all the assets that you might have. Right? If it's cash in terms of in bank accounts, or an equity stock account in one of those brokerages, or if you have any of those e-wallets where you can trade online, right, like Robinhood, eToro, PDAX, put your account there and how much the value is. And what I like to do here is just make it so plain and simple. That's just for you. You're not presenting to anyone. And this is something that you might find useful the earlier you start. And as the quarters or as the years progress, you get to somehow check yourself. So some of my main points here now, just take that 5 minutes, 10 minutes. What number one, and you build that quick bird's eye view of how you do financially. And obviously, it's good to have that bird's eye view and check. But the thing that is also interesting is if you can change and adjust annually and quarterly, right? So in this example, you see that there are years down here. Like you can have a spreadsheet that exactly looks the same, and you just adjust and make a new sheet every year, just for you to have that comparison of how you are back when you were maybe 2 years ago, and how you are last year versus how you are now. And if you just keep doing this every year, you'll see the progression, you'll see the trend, right? It's so simple, and you can see how your assets are growing. And lastly, right, it's interesting. It's good also to have some prospective planning, meaning creating a goal or a plan for yourself of where you want your personal balance sheet or where you want your assets to be maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, and how do you want to get there from where you are now. It's the same thing we did, and it connects to the first step of our lesson on the 5 steps of growing our finances. Here you can also do a projection of where you want to be, and it could be based off your savings percentage of your income, right? And this helps you set yourself a pace. No? If my assets now is 200,000, and maybe in a year's time I want it to be 350,000, how can I break down that 150,000, and where will I be allocating it? That's a simple question that you will answer yourself based on this practice, this exercise. And the last thing I want to mention here is that it's good to see the percentage allocation. 2 really simple columns, right? Column F and G. You see the percentage allocation in each. So like offhand, you just get to see, okay, I'm most exposed in this area. Maybe when I invest next, I will place that investment, that savings, in this other bucket because I already put too much in this, or it's growing a lot. Maybe I'll expose myself more to stocks than crypto, something like that. And also to categorize your assets into, the way I do it is into 3. And I'll let you know, Pala, this is just a random amount that I place into the mix. No? All random amounts. Maybe this is something that looks like yours, maybe it's something that looks like your friends, but these are all like just random figures, not necessarily the JMAers. So 3 categories I would normally use: cash, safe assets, and risky assets. And by putting into those buckets, you also see how risky you have been and how risky you may need to be, because you can put your goal na, you know what, I want safe assets to be 50%, but risky assets only up to 30%. Or wait, I'm still pretty young. I can afford to put like 70% in risky assets, and have that compounding, that growth that comes with it. So sige, the next year, the next 2 years, I'll just keep putting in risky assets. So I don't care if I lose it. I'm still young. I can get it. When I start working, I can just get that in like 2-3 months away. So this whole process helps you establish where you are right now, historically where you are now, and even like prospectively your plans, where you want to be. Right? So it goes side by side with the other one, but I think it's a pretty useful practice for someone to start doing, like building a personal balance sheet. And lastly, just to piece it too, I want to mention to all of you guys, all of your college students, there's one major difference actually, an insight that I noticed. When you're coming out of college and you go into the workspace, and that big difference is that your income multiplies by factors, right? Either 10x, 20x, 100x, whatever x it is, your income multiplies. And there are two sets of people. The first set will be, oh, my income grows so much, I can afford so many things. I'll spend. I'll buy this now, spend on that, I'll spend on this. But, and the second group, what they would do though is, okay, well, my income grew. My spending was like 5% of my past spending is like just 5% of my normal income now, or 10% of my normal income now. Maybe I'll just let it grow, but I'll let my expense grow, but not by leaps and bounds as my income has grown. If my income grew by 10x, let my expense grow by 2x, and maybe I'll get the extra 80%, right? I'll use that to save more, and that's something that is you notice, right? Is frequent. But it's up to you to decide where you want to be in that mix. Because, of course, you don't want to just keep saving, be a Scrooge. I just want to make sure that you spend comfortably, but at the same time, it's managed well. And you can check yourself at every month. Shucks, I spent more than I used to, or I spent less. Good. It's not something to be draconian on. It's just something to help guide you with. Right? This balance sheet, the 5 steps to managing finances. So hopefully it's helpful. And yeah, 30, the floor is yours.
It's pretty interesting. Where are these people right now who spend a lot as compared to those who, the second type of people who can manage their spending better?
Oh, dude, I'm not one to say where each one is, but I do think there's nothing wrong with one or the other. Like, the first group will end up like not saving a lot, but maybe in a few years' time they'll end up realizing so. If that's just how you want things, then you want to just spend a lot on and be happy with it. Yes, but I'd say be cautious now. That's why I myself am more part of the second group now. Still spend, still enjoy, but just manage.
Oh, all right. I know not this type of question or this type of discussion for what I'm about to ask would probably require another session, but not all students, because are investing. So do you have any tips on where they should start investing, on what assets they should be investing in, and etc.?
Sure. I'd go for the most easy to set up investments, meaning in the comfort of your home you can just make an account and invest. And the 3 suggestions I'd have is, one is stocks. So you either go to like Call Financial, AAA equities, or the BDO. And here you just need to have a TIN account. It's a bit more complicated setting up an account, but you can make an account online. The second one is in cryptos, and that's if you can afford the risk, but the return there is high, right? Risk return. I think like Bitcoin itself went up 30 or 25% just the past few weeks, right? And a lot of people are going into it. But so that's something you might want to check out. And the good thing about it is not really the risk return, but more of the ease of setup. Like it takes really simple to set up. All you need is like a driver's license, or a student ID, and you can trade with a simple amount of like 200 pesos. Versus in stocks, you need around 5,000 or 10,000, 50,000, depending on the brokerage you talk to. The last advice I'd give is going to these popular international wallets for trading, like eToro. Um, it's something that will give you exposure if you want to trade in like international equities, like in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in China, Europe, in the States. But then it has also a pretty considerable setup cost. I think it's around $200, $300 to set up there. But it's all of these three, no, can be done online. The easiest is number two, next is the third, and then the first is the hardest but also possible for him. I would encourage to start doing so. I think now's a good time to start investing and learning about it. But those three.
All right. Pretty interesting. I might start.
You should. Feel free to message me in case you have questions.
Sure, that's perfect. So we mentioned about cutting costs and the fifth step, kumbaga, yung making adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
But then some people still have this bad habit of splurging out of nowhere, or suddenly at the end of the week they don't know where their money went. Like even if they set up these goals, like do you have any tips on how to cut on these bad habits? Should they tuck in the money kaagad? Should they give it to someone else for safekeeping, and etc.?
I've heard people ask me that same question before, if they could give me that money in my office. But I think the best solution there is to budget the splurges as well. Like give yourself one or two splurges a month and factor it in. Huwag ka matakot to factor it into your calculations of how much you spend. Like be honest to yourself that if you splurge on food, or if you splurge on shopping, or you splurge on something else, that you account for it. You put it there. Put it in writing. When the month comes, and you said, oh, but it's okay, I can splurge because I budgeted it, and it's possible for me to do so because I can afford it. Then it's okay. But in case that you don't, and you can't have that self-control, of course you pray on it, you ask God for help. But at the same time, there's two ways you can do it. One is you have a separate bank account for your savings, or the moment you get the allowance or the saving, you put it inside the bank account, you put it inside the stock account or the crypto wallet kaagad, or it's there na, and then the remainder will be for spending, right? And the second is, you get someone else to help you out. If not a physical or a online wallet, you ask for someone external help.
All right. Okay, my last question. I think it's more of a personal opinion. What do you think is worth saving for at your age, or our age, your age right now, and maybe you in 10 years?
Sure. A really good question. And here's when I look into investments, what I think of is even if something is risky, but if I look at it maybe in 2 years' time, it's worth just 1 month's salary or 2 months' salary, I would go for it. Right? As long as I do my due diligence on it. What do I mean? Like, let's say you keep putting cash on crypto, and it's really risky, and then you've added up like 100,000 pesos worth in crypto, but you think maybe in 2 years' time, naman, I can just earn that 100 in 1 month or in 2 months. If you think it's connecting it to your future potential income, right? You can afford to take risks, and don't hesitate to take risks because we're really young, and we can afford to venture into risky opportunities that can have much more return than. So I would say, try to get into crypto, volumes are growing worldwide. The adoption with PayPal is nice. Banks are also recommending it to the custody departments of banks are recommending it to their clients as an investment. I think it won the 2019 Investment of the Year um, for when banks were recommending to their clients. And after crypto, I'd say real estate is hard because you need much capital, right? So I would say go into stocks now because it's still at a discount to what it was. You would be buying it at 4 to 5, the price it was 4 or 5 years ago. So you basically just leapfrog 4 or 5 years. The present value, future value, blah blah, and you can buy those at the prices they were like 4 or 5 years ago.
All right.